friend of Sierra Connor. I was told that she's here.
Welcome back, guys. This is a part 2 on the rehab of this Redcat Rampage XB buggy. In the last part of the video, I was waiting for some parts, the power switch. I got the power switch. We're going to be installing this in, and I just want to make a correction. I said that there is no servo horn for the Savox servo. Right now, I'm removing the servo arm right over here, the servo horn rather. I just want to see whether it'll fit the splines on the Savox. Okay, here we go. It's a plastic piece, which is weird because my Rally has a metal one. Okay, it does not fit. Right, you see that? It basically slips through. The servo horn is too large for the splines on the Savox servo. So this is going to be something I'm going to have to look into and remedy. Now, I was an idiot actually. I didn't check inside the box, but they did include a little baggie with the servo horns and everything, but they are plastic. Very surprising for a nearly $100 Savox servo. I went online on their website and saw whether a 15-tooth spline servo horn was available for this style of servo, and once again, I only found the plastic pieces. They are fairly sturdy. I honestly can't really even bend it with my hand, but even on their website, they were sold out, so luckily, they were included. I'm only used to buying cheap eBay servos like this. This is actually one of my favorite 10-scale MG Tower Pro 995 servo. Very reliable, high torque, metal gear, pretty good. I've had these for years. They're like about $5 to $6 each, super cheap. But I'm used to them having, you know, basically terrible packaging like this, which is a plastic baggie with everything that you can see right through the bag. So my mistake, I take that back. And to punish myself, I am gonna be eating this egg white omelet right here. This is 4 egg whites and 1 yolk. Just like Rich Piana, you know, because I use the Rich Piana motivation videos to get myself through the build and repair of this buggy. So let me chow down on this right over here. Oh man, you don't even need a fork or spoon. What's the difference? You gotta get the protein in. You guys ever seen how Rich Piana eats his oatmeal? You know, his 4 servings of oatmeal in the morning? This is nothing like that. He would laugh at me. Alright, enough kidding around. Let's get back to this. Okay, let's open the on-off switch. I'm going to plug the on-off switch into the appropriate slot on the receiver, which is all the way at the top. This plug is pretty much designed that it can only fit one way. Your negative cable has to always be on the right side as it is right over here. Okay, let's plug in the battery. Here we go. It only goes in one way to this JST connector. Okay, power the radio on. And now the switch itself. Right now it is off. I'm going to slide it into the on position. There we go. I could see the light on the receiver. You guys see that? So everything is functional now, right? Let me turn it off. Light goes off. On, light goes on. You see that? Like clockwork. So definitely something was wrong with the old power switch. The wires are completely a total mess right over here. This is probably why the owner sold this thing in the first place. Couldn't figure that this was the issue. Now I just got to remove the old power switch right here. Hopefully I don't have to disassemble too much. There we go. It's a simple small screw, which is common in most RCs. Here we go. You just got to get this thing out and get the new one screwed in. Easy fix. That's what we want to see, right? There we go. The old on-off switch to be replaced with a nice new one. For those of you guys that think Redcats are tough to work on, honestly, it's a very simple chassis layout. I don't think it actually gets any simpler than this. There's no diff, it's a straight drive system. Every time I've seen a problem in one of these, it was pretty much easily fixed right away. Okay, we got the second screw going in. Just tighten this thing up. Then we'll pack in the receiver box and go on to the servo. Now I'm going to remove the top molding right over here. Of course, you want to have your cones out whenever you're working on anything. We got some hazardous road work conditions going on. There's only a couple screws here on top, 4 to be exact. They simply just come out, no big deal. And then we can remove this little cover here on top. That will give us access to the servos. Okay, here we go. This piece just comes out. I am going to actually clean this when I give it back to my friend that loaned it out for me to fix it. It will be a little cleaner than it is right now. Road work done. Set these to the side. Now we have access to the servo. I'm just gonna remove these screws and then we'll see how it works with a new Savox. Now that the power switch is in here, everything is connected, the battery is inside here. Let me put on the remote, put the power on the car. We're just gonna check to make sure the electronics work. Right, so this steering servo has no issues at all. Everything is fine. The throttle is active. The only thing I have left to do is set the fail-safe. So when I turn off the remote right over here, check this out. Right, it's basically still in neutral position. I needed to engage brakes. I'm gonna do that later on. For now, let's put the steering servo in. First step, let's take out these 4 screws holding the servo in. Okay, the screws are out. I'm just gonna slide out the servo. No issues, right? Seems fine. Hopefully I don't have to disassemble anything else over here. Well, it's not as easy as I thought. Always some kind of situation. What else gotta be taken apart? Maybe this right over here, I don't know. Normally, when you just remove the 4 screws, they slide out. It's probably binding from the servo wire. Well, that's not it. It looks like these screws are also holding the servo in place through the actual mounting bracket that it's on. Okay, hopefully that'll do it. Right, here we go. This thing slides out, and that's what it looks like. It's just a little bracket that holds the servo in the back. Not a bad design, actually, if you know what you're doing. So yeah, as I thought, the servo wire itself in the back was obstructing our exit strategy here, right? And it looks like I made another discovery. You see these screws here? It looks like there's an extra little bracket that is basically ensuring that the servo has no free movement at all. So I can't even remove the servo from this bracket without removing these 2 screws here. I probably should have done this in the first place. I didn't have to disassemble all of this anyway. But this will give me a good opportunity to clean some of the chassis. It's pretty dirty inside. I don't want to hand it back to the owner dirty. So I'm removing these 2 other screws. They look like they are securing the servo in place fairly well. Honestly, a fairly intricate design. I've never seen so much done to secure probably the worst servo ever made. Oh my god, this is like overkill. Yep, here we go. You see this? This bracket is basically ensuring a lot of tightness over here. And there we go. The servo is out. Now I can clean some of these parts. Ran into the first problem as always. I thought a steering servo was a simple install, but look at the sizes of the actual mounting tabs and the servos. The original Redcat one is shorter. You could tell right over here on the right, the tabs do not line up. On the left, they do. This means the original mounting hardware is no longer going to be usable. I will have to fabricate some sort of thing to mount the new servo. Now, it does fit if I remove these things right over here, but this little piece is what the screw backs into. So I will have to design some kind of lock nut system. As you could tell, if I remove this portion right over here, the screw has nowhere to go into in the back. It's literally just gonna go through this piece. Overall, the Savox servo does fit. Right here is the final solution. I basically just came up with the use of lock washers. Pretty good. It seems to be fairly tight now. There's no movement. I'm just gonna put this back in and pray for the best. The servo is in. Just like Rich Piana, you gotta do what it takes, right? Now I just gotta replace this ball stud from the old servo horn onto this new one, and we should be good to go and test this out. The new servo horn here on the left is taller, so since the ball stud was right here on top, I will be using this third hole from the top to make sure that the steering geometry is unchanged. The servo is finally in. I had no issues putting this in. Everything seems fine now. The hardware for the servo horn is correct. When you're doing this, make sure that your steering servo is centered. You want to have your power system on and make sure your steering trim is to the neutral position. I have that right now. Now we can mount the servo horn and attach this all back and then give it a good test. Okay, let's see. Right, seems to be working fine. You could adjust your steering trim later on. Everything is good. I'm gonna put the steering link back on. The geometry seems to be maybe a little bit slightly different. The servo horn extends a little bit more out. But let me steer. Let's see. Oh, wow. Man, the steering is fast. Look at that. Holy moly. That's a $100 steering servo, guys. No slop. Not like Sloppy Joe. I just programmed the failsafe. Let me show you guys when I turn off the remote. Check this out. it goes into full brake mode. I cannot do anything now. Fortunately, I did not get this on camera because I had to use 2 hands to do this. But what you do is you power on the car, you have the remote off, you have to ensure that your throttle trigger is in the brake position. I was using tape in this case. Then when you power it on, it basically just sets itself. I have a video on my channel on how to set the fail-safe on all these FlySky systems. Very important. Without a kill switch, this is at least something that will engage the brakes if we have any kind of signal interruption. So check this out again. I'm going to turn off the remote. It goes into full brake mode. Everything is good. These receivers are very good because they have these functions already built in. Now let's check out the air filter. I took the front clip off. Let's slide this thing off. Okay, so it's a dual layer design. I was wrong. It looks like it has plenty of oil on the inside, but I am still gonna do some air filter maintenance and clean it and then re-oil it. Okay, inside it looks pretty good. I don't see any dust, so yeah, it looks like it was oiled fairly well. Good job. I've now oiled the filter. You don't want to oil it too much because that could cause an air issue, and a lot of people that report having their engine stutter and die, a lot of times you'd be surprised it's because they over oiled the air filter, believe it or not. So yeah, eventually at some point when the oil is just oversaturating the filter, yes, it will create an issue with your idle. Now we could put on the outside dust cover. This is like the second layer protection. I normally don't oil the outside cover. Here it is, the completed radio box. This side's still a little dirty. I didn't clean any of this, but I'm sure the owner will take care of that in the future. My goal is just to get this up and running, maintained, and drivable. The battery is wrapped. It is nice. I just have to insert this antenna wire lead on top of this and it'll be good to go. I'm done with the Rampage. Everything is good. I took care of all the loose ends. Before I go outside, I gotta eat some lunch, right? I think I deserve it. I mean, I put in a lot of work into this thing. Right here, I have some really good soup. This is what you call borscht. It is a red vegetable type soup with primarily beets. That's why it has a nice red hue. Of course, this white stuff in here is sour cream. Really good. Oh man, nothing like homemade soup. Healthy too. Really good for your blood. Right over here, we have some fried cod and carrot salad. This is like a spicy Egyptian style carrot mix right here. Pretty good. I like this kind of stuff. Oh yeah. Cod, guys, cod. It's like the McDonald's fish fillet sandwich, except not from McDonald's. All right, I'm gonna finish this up. Gonna go outside, see how it does. Here we are, finally at the RC track. This thing is looking good. I cleaned up most of it. I polished the body a little bit. Let's see how this thing fires up. Might be an issue in the fuel grommet. The good news, it did start. I managed to do about 1 lap over here until I hit half throttle. If you guys saw, I was giving you kind of a shot here of the fuel coming out of the top of this fuel grommet. It looks like it is not sealed very well at all. So that is creating some kind of an issue with the actual fuel draw. Clearly when I accelerated beyond half throttle, there's a higher demand for fuel line pressure. On the second run, this thing surprised me. It didn't shut off. I couldn't even demonstrate how it bogged down and shut down anymore. I don't know what the story is. Maybe, you know, the seal conditioned itself a little bit, but there's still good clues and signs here of the bottom of the chassis being completely wet. You could tell right over here. So fuel is somehow escaping this. Normally, this little vent hole would be a little bit oily, but it isn't. That is because, you know, fuel and oil is finding a different, easier way out of the tank. This will eventually need to be replaced. So right now, I'm gonna cut this video, enjoy some of these runs, and in the future, I'm gonna work on replacing this fuel grommet, or maybe I'll just buy a completely different tank. I'm gonna see what the owner wants to do, and we'll go from there.
Cyberdyne Systems Model 101. My CPU is a neural net processor, a learning computer.